the sun. A nasty burn, now isn't that fun? Swim in the ocean, run on the beach, drown in the surf and blood like a leech. We have no time for merrymaking. Chop off the head for badness sake, sell for a limb, batter and bake. Nasty spells a bubonic night. Come close and see what's hidden from sight. Something festering in my bed bugs dancing on my head.
Hey everybody, welcome to Get Busy Watching. I'm your host, Honest Dan, and welcome back to my 2021 Halloween special. Hope everyone's been having a great day and having fun getting into the spirit of Halloween. Lord knows I am. So let's continue talking about the horror movies that I've been watching lately.
I want to die on Halloween. Halloween, Halloween, I want to die on Halloween.
This mild-mannered family moves to this little town that has a ton of murders going down. Murders committed by teen vampires led by Kiefer Sutherland, who really wants this guy to be one of them.
Drink some of this, Michael. Be one of us.
Alright, so Joel Schumacher used to be a really good director. I'm impressed! I mean, it's not flawless, and in fact I wouldn't even consider this to be one of the best vampire movies of all time. In fact, it's kind of unimpressive given the ideas that it presents, but I was thoroughly entertained and I do like it. This is essentially a quasi-self-aware vampire outing, in that the main characters know they're dealing with vampires and quickly adapt to the situation with minimal or sensible freakouts. On the surface, that sounds fine. For all intents and purposes, it's not done poorly. But for as popular as this movie seems to be, I guess I was expecting something more clever, something funnier, something that really turns the vampire genre on its head. Instead, it's simply doing away with the common tropes rather than doing anything truly unique with the breathing room it gives itself.
It's a pretty cool place. If you're a Martian.
Or a vampire.
Are you guys sniffing on newsprint or something?
And that's the only real problem that I had with this movie. And the ending, it felt really rushed and anticlimactic, but that's definitely it. Everything else is actually pretty solid and even has spikes of greatness. What I believe keeps this as popular as it is the performances, specifically from the villainous vampires. Clearly, everyone playing a vampire was given one direction: have the time of your life. And boy howdy did they seem like they were. Running around cackling like a bunch of wannabe comic book villains, they truly steal the show, as any good vampire movie should. Especially babyface Sutherland. I will never get over how he says Michael's name over and over again. It's so hammy and pretentious, but the precision of that intention is pitch perfect. Again, as any good vampire performance should be. That's not to say that the performances from the protagonists don't carry their share of the weight. The lovable dork that is the late Corey Haim, the lovably dumb but courageous Corey Feldman, and Jameson Newlander as the vampire hunter losers, they definitely steal the show. Babyface Diane Wiest is a knockout, so there's plenty to enjoy in this sucker. Pun originally not intended, but I'm owning it and saying definitely intended.
Maggots, Michael. You're eating maggots. How do they taste?
I do think it's a wee bit overrated, but compared to Schumacher's later work, and I'm not gonna lie, I still kinda like those movies, this is far and away, from my point of view, his magnum opus. And for a genre that's oversaturated with more famous movies that don't deserve their popularity, this does deserve to be seen by more people. I'm happy that I saw it, and if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend you check it out. Rest in peace, Joel. You are missed and far from forgotten. My honest rating for The Lost Boys, a 4 out of 5.
You missed, sucker.
Once, pal.
Tell me a story full of betrayal. A headless horseman covered with snails.
Sorry, I gotta preface this. The day that I saw this movie, it was 7:30 in the morning. By God did I regret that. I was tired all day. But that morning, I found out that this is actually part of a trilogy that John Carpenter made. And it's part 3 of said trilogy. The Thing being part 1. News to me! And apparently part 2 is Prince of Darkness. I've never even heard of that one. I would watch it this year, but I already have my lists picked out, so I just felt like it was kind of prudent to mention that this is part of the Apocalypse trilogy. Fun fact. Impress your friends. Sam Neill is an insurance investigator who is investigating the disappearance of a famed horror novelist. He and this pretty lady go to a town that doesn't appear on any maps and encounter spooky stuff.
Do you read Sutter Kane?
Alright, yeah, this was actually kind of interesting. Look, last year I saw The Possession, and that Sam Neill outing was... wow. So having watched this one, it falls a wee bit short. Not that I should have expected anything on the level of Possession. But all things considered, this was pretty solid. What I adore is the level of intrigue that is built up over the course of the story. Yes, it does that annoying thing where the story starts toward the end and the events are retold. But here, it's done better than usual. The rising tension when you have an axe killer trying to kill Neil randomly, to the spooky stuff in the non-existent town where the writer allegedly resides, it keeps you adequately hooked, especially when the creepy stuff starts. And when it does, it's a lot of fun. You get bits and pieces of body horror, creature feature. Oh, I guess I understand now why this is somewhat connected to The Thing. And the level of stress that both Sam Neill and the audience experience toward the end is awesome. That scene alone kind of reminded me of Malignant. But one has to ask, is this a flawless film? No. Admittedly, my negatives are nitpicks at best, but I just don't think this is Carpenter's best work. What absolutely kills me is just how long it takes for the point to get across. That all of this is the work of, demons? Interdimensional monsters? I don't even know. And that's what hurts. When you watch The Thing, you knew it was an alien. It was clear from the get-go, but this almost makes you think it's psychological rather than supernatural. The shift between genres is jarring and not quite in a good way, at least for my tastes. I love the concept that this writer's work turns out to be real, but I feel like not enough is done to make this a lasting experience. The ideas are clearly there, but it's not pushed as far as it could have potentially gone, which would have made it more enjoyable from where I was sitting.
What if Kane's work isn't fiction?
For Christ's sake. This is reality.
Yes, it has its weaknesses that will forever hold it back in my eyes from being a legitimately great horror romp. But as it stands, it's still pretty good. Whether or not you're a fan of John Carpenter, I'm still gonna say check it out. I like it. My honest rating for In the Mouth of Madness, a 4 out of 5.
Kane has a job for you.
I know a witch who's bigger for whale, covered with boils, wrinkled and pale.
Kevin Bacon and Fred Ward are good old country boys that discover monster worm creatures that attack anything that makes a noise. Also, Reba McEntire with an arsenal of firearms.
Ah, Jesus! What the hell's going on? I mean, what the hell is going on?
This was a very misleading poster. The graboids don't have teeth. Anyway, this was a fun-ass movie, and I have no idea how I've been missing out on it for 31 years. My life, man. What the have I been doing all this time? This was fantastic! Thanks to the success of Guardians of the Galaxy and the movie's high praise of Kevin Bacon himself, the relevance and entertainment value of this movie is skyrocketed. To my understanding, the premise of this flick is Jaws, but you can't stay out of the water this go around. The creature this time is relegated to land, and that's where most humans feel comfortable. So the idea of taking that comfort away is about as genius as you can get. And unlike many horror flicks I've seen, this movie's ideas are tapped into and perfected. Every time the human characters learn something new and are able to exploit the graboid weaknesses to stay alive longer, the monsters learn something new themselves and become that much more threatening, forcing the human characters to come up with something more creative to keep themselves alive.
Hey, Rhonda, what do you think it's trying to do now?
Why do you keep asking me?
So is there anything I don't like about this movie? I'm struggling to say yes, but I can't find anything. Whatever negatives this movie has are pure nitpicks, and from people who can't enjoy a good concept that the filmmakers push to its limit. Every problem has a solution. Every solution has a countermeasure. This is a game of chess that never stops, and never stops getting more and more interesting and intriguing. Though the graboids don't look like their box art counterparts, what I will always appreciate prior to 1993, looking at you Jurassic Park, those are actual puppets, animatronics. There's something that you can physically touch. For the actors, it's something that they can actually react to. As much as I love Jurassic Park, and I will never speak ill of CGI, but Hollywood's obsession with it has made such creature features like Tremors all the more desirable, and all the more appreciated.
I'll tell you one damn thing. Old Chang don't get his slick mitts on this for no measly $15.
You got that right.
It's neither dumb nor smart. It's the kind of movie that knows exactly what it is, reaches its full potential, and leaves an everlasting impact. Whatever negatives it has, they truly don't matter. It knows what it is and doesn't try to be anything else. Also, Reba McEntire with an arsenal of firearms will never get old. My honest rating for Tremors, a 5 out of 5.
Now this valley is just one long smorgasbord. We have got to get out.
I do a Kevin Bacon impression. This valley's just one long smorgasbord. They're under the ground. It's Tremors.
I know a sight that will make you scream, I want to die on Halloween!
It's the '98 Japanese original film about the killer VHS tape and the ghostly girl that crawls out of the TV to kill you after a week from watching it. And it co-stars the legendary Hiroyuki Sanada.
その時さ、岩田くんが変なビデオ見つけて、なんだろうってみんなで見ちゃったの。
I don't care much for it. Honestly, I wouldn't even consider it a horror film, but rather a mystery thriller that just happens to have supernatural elements to it. Not that I remember the American remake all that well, I don't even remember if I liked the thing, but I remember it being a little scarier than this. I could be wrong, but there's so little spooks that I was dozing off and found myself having to be reminded that this is supposed to be scary. I also don't quite buy into most of the supernatural elements. So apparently the mom to the ghost girl was psychic, and the ghost girl is even more powerful? And somehow Ryuji has similar powers? Why? Was this even established early on in the flick, or was this information just dropped on the laps of the audience? I can't tell you how confused I was. To make matters even stranger, I don't even know if Reiko has the same powers. Why do they have powers at all? I know the American remake didn't do that nonsense. It kept things grounded. I have very few positives to dish out, but I do want to make it clear, I don't think this is a bad movie. I just don't think it's all that scary. And it seems to be more interested in figuring out its own rules rather than actually being scary. I won't deny that the final few minutes are done very well, and Sadako as a monster is a wee bit more intimidating than Samara in the remake, simply on the grounds that she moves more realistically and her nails are very grossly not on her fingers. Something about Sadako is more impactful. The performances are otherwise very good from the two leads, especially from Nanako Matsushima. I couldn't get into this one, and I remember the American remake being much scarier, or at least appealed to my tastes a little bit better. Sorry to sound like a broken record, but it's just not scary. Elements feel random, even silly. Were it not for the last few minutes and the fine performances from the two leads, I would have written this off completely. I just don't like it too much. My honest rating for Ringu, a weak 3 out of 5.
Oftentimes we're better off dead when we wake the sky turns red.
A group of hopeful camp counselors are looking to bring back the old camp at Crystal Lake where murders happened decades before. Well, that doesn't work out too well for a whole lot of people.
Camp Crystal Lake has changed.
Oh, terrific. Not you too. You sound like your crazy friend back there, Ralph.
Well, maybe.
It's not my favorite slasher horror, but I'd be lying if I said, at least in certain ways, didn't do a good job of setting itself apart from other slashers at the time, or hell, even its sequels. The first sign that I was given that would indicate how much I would dig this is the near-perfect fake-out it did with who the final girl would be. I was utterly convinced it was the girl who was late, but nope, she's the first to get killed. Alright movie, you got me. I truly didn't know who the next victims would be. And of course, can't go without mentioning how funny it is to see Kevin Bacon as a horny teen in this. And once it's revealed who the killer is, I'd be lying if I said that didn't fascinate me. Truth be told, unlike Jason Voorhees, this killer is much more personable and impactful.
Get out of here, man. I got to warn you. You're doomed to stay.
My negatives are this. Like I said in my Texas Chainsaw Massacre review, I've seen this setup before. Young horny people getting killed in terrible ways. Gee, never seen that for an entire decade? That's truly what holds it back. Aside from the grade A talent that would eventually spawn from this outing, nothing else is really that unique. At least, not until the final act. Not that any of it is done poorly, it just doesn't stand out. I suppose like any slasher horror, it's really not about the death scenes or those characters for that matter, but rather the slasher killer that's front and center. But that's really fishing for excuses, and I just wish the final act was the entire movie. It's by no means a bad movie, I just feel like I had to wade through a ton of mediocrity in order to get to the stuff that would actually send chills down my spine. I would watch this again, but not frequently. My honest rating for Friday the 13th, a strong 3 out of 5. After the worldwide success of the film Blair Witch Project, a group of young people venture out to Burkittsville to tour the shooting locations from the film. However, after spending time out in the woods, they begin to experience real spooky phenomena.
Are they yours?
Did you put them in there?
Did you? Jeff, are they your tape?
Yeah, Erica, they're my tape!
Well, then why are they still here?
Raise your hand if you even knew this thing existed. Yeah, I knew this thing existed. I've known for some time. I've just never watched it up until now, because I heard it was shit. Spoilers, it's shit. There is no Book of Shadows, the title of the damn thing, and there's not a single book anywhere to be found in this movie. So I have no idea what the title is talking about. On top of that, the acting is atrocious, due in no small part to the piss-poor writing and directing. The characters are unlikable, ranging from the pretentious goth and Wiccan chicks to boring-ass cookie-cutter white folks, so there's no one to invest in. The story makes zero sense as to what exactly is causing all the spooky stuff to happen. The editing is for shit, which is saying something coming out of me because that's all I do in my videos, and I'm not that great at it, so I have no idea what this movie's excuse is.
that I worship the devil just because I'm a Wiccan.
Hey, look, where I come from, people think that because I dress in black that I'm some kind of sick killer or something.
I'm gonna say it. It's probably not true, but I'm gonna say it anyway. You can kind of tell where a good idea, where a good movie was supposed to be. But whatever good ideas it was supposed to roll with, they butchered it. Clearly, this was trying to go for a more psychological horror rather than the subtle supernatural horror that was the Blair Witch Project. By the close of the story, you know the line, "perception is reality," was supposed to be the clever tipping of the hand. And because some of these characters are kind of crazy or believe in abnormal stuff, it wanted to play with whether or not the scary stuff was all in their heads. Even in the beginning of the movie, acknowledging the existence of the Blair Witch Project kind of lent its way for something meta. Hell, maybe this could have worked as a comedy, a spoof of the original flick, but that's sadly not what happened.
Because if people believe something enough, isn't it real? If people believe something enough, isn't it real? Perception is reality.
This, however, takes itself way too seriously. You either can't follow what's going on or you don't care. It takes a nosedive from the shitty movie tree and hits every branch on the way down. It is about one of the most incompetently made horror films that I have ever seen. Look, it's not like I even care about the original, but this was an insult it did not deserve. My honest rating for Book of Shadows Blair Witch 2, a 2 out of 5.
Damn, you're really running bullshit central here, aren't you?
This annoying ass teen knows that his new neighbor is a vampire and runs around screaming for help from people who don't believe him.
Look, I'm telling you, Jerry Dandridge is a vampire.
Sure, and I'm Dirty Harry. Now let me tell you something, kid. If I ever catch your ass down at the station house again, I'm throwing it in jail forever.
Ooh, this movie was lucky. I was about to call it one of the most annoying horror films that I have ever seen. And to a degree, I stand by that. But the final act does save this movie. I swear to God, if I get a tumor later on in life, I'm naming it Charlie. Holy shit, this kid drove me up the walls, man. If he's not the cause of his own blue balls, then he's the living embodiment of every single horror movie trope that I can't stand. The kind of character who runs around telling people that he saw a vampire and is somehow surprised that no one believes him every time. I was seething with frustration, foaming at the mouth, and prayed to God that this kid would die. That's how stupid he is, and damn near ruined the entire movie. As a result of my burning hatred, it felt significantly longer than 90 minutes. It felt like 3 hours. I have considered to stop watching it altogether and swap it for anything else. Also, 1,000,000% confused here. Why do vampires suddenly transform into werewolves? This broke my brain, y'all.
You deserve to die, boy.
But as if it was doing a bullet time dodge from the Matrix, it just barely limps over the finish line. Yeah, for all the cursing I was doing, this does have some redeeming qualities. They'll never be worth watching this movie all the way through again, but thank the ever-loving, merciful gods of motion pictures, it wasn't complete torture. The one consistent joy I had was the villains. Like I said in my Lost Boys review, any vampire movie worth its weight in blood, the vampire character has to be posh, superior, but delightful. And boy howdy is Chris Sarandon a delight. While not my favorite vampire character of all time, he does a wonderful job of not taking Charlie seriously and having his own flavor of intimidation. And of course, when Evil Ed gets turned into a vampire, his hammy-ass acting went from annoying as hell to his advantage as a monster who relishes being a monster. The makeup is wonderful. The practical and creature effects are outstanding. So I fully admit that the final half hour was the most enjoyment I got out of this.
Here's dinner's in the oven.
If you legit like this movie, you're gonna have to hold my hand and walk me through how. For me, that first hour was pure agony. Yeah, like I said, the final third of this movie is really good. The villains are consistently fun. But for the most part, that first hour, oh my god, it is unforgiving. There are so many better vampire flicks out there. I could never, in good conscience, ever recommend this one. Unless you're just watching the third act. Under those circumstances, then it's okay. My honest rating for Fright Night, a week 3 out of 5.
Welcome to Fright Night.
Thanks so much for watching, you guys. I really appreciate it. Have a great day. Stay safe and healthy out there. Hope to see you soon.
Something rancid in the bowl, and we'll take your restless soul. Something breathing